Mercedes, thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. This session's being videotaped, so you're aware of that. Thank you for consenting for that. So you're aware a little bit about what I do. We talked about that. And so the question I have for you is, what is it you'd like our session to accomplish for you today?
Well, I have some anxiety.
Okay.
I guess it was a long time ago. Oh, goodness, I can't remember. 11 years ago. I had a date rape situation.
Okay.
Or incident. And I went to therapy for a while, but I think I had to stop for insurance reasons before I was done.
Okay.
So I still have like...
So there's still some stuff left over from that continues to trouble you and affect you in ways that aren't working to your best advantage.
It's like at work, I watch a lot of TV and movies, and if like a scene comes up, then I get really anxious when the scene comes up, and I have to watch it because it's for work. I can't stop watching it. So
right.
It affects my work sometimes.
Okay, well, great. So it's going to be really useful for us to get that cleared up, and the good news for what I'm doing with you is that you don't have to do much of anything. So I'm going to do what I do to get that cleared up so it's not doing that anymore. And so where you are able to sit and look at things like that with ease without that stuff getting triggered or troubled, okay? Just to give you sort of an outline of how the mind works, I don't need to give you a whole explanation, but just a quick one. If we think of our mind divided into two parts, we've got this supercomputer analytical thinking part of the mind. It can think backwards in time and recall and remember things. I call them old movies or instant replays in our head. We can think about things that have happened, some good things, some not so good things, but we can recall those as kind of old movies. We also can think forward into the future and anticipate and think about things that might happen, could happen, but aren't happening now, right? So that part of the mind, while very powerful, is only about 2% of our mind. The other 98% of our mind, we might call it the subconscious mind, and that's the part where emotions come from, instinct, and it also controls our physiology. That part of the mind is got one primary function, survival. And so that part of the mind is a very powerful part in its own right. Interestingly, that part of the mind functions about the level of a rabbit. Okay. So sometimes, while your mind works just fine, sometimes when our mind is affected by stuff, especially if it was traumatic or disturbing, a little facet of our mind can get stuck. Okay, and while most of your mind's working just fine, that little facet that got stuck didn't update. It didn't get the good news. This thing's over and done. Right. Okay, and so, and once we get that updated, then it should cease to cause any sort of troubling emotion, because that part of the mind didn't get the good news that it was over, so it's sort of perpetually experiencing what happened. Okay, so if we were to think of how your mind has been working, that's been producing this troubling stuff, if we were to call that the problematic way that your mind has been working, if we were to represent that with a symbol or a color, what comes to mind is a color, for example, that would represent symbolically this way that your mind had been working.
Red?
Yeah, okay, good. So we're done with that. I'm already seeing you clear of this, where this stuff is just a speck of dust in the rearview mirror, with everything working to your best advantage, where you move forward with ease and calm, where this stuff doesn't happen anymore. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we could represent your mind working in this way that we're desiring and intending, and we were to represent that with a color, what color comes to mind to represent that?
Green.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So what I want you to do in your mind's eye is just think the color green, and as you do so, inhale, take in a deep breath. Good. And then as you exhale, just let your eyes close, and you don't have to do anything. Just let your eyes close, but just notice your breathing. And notice that just by noticing your breathing, that on its own your breathing gets deeper and slower. And as breathing gets deeper and slower, you may find yourself sinking down and melting down into your seat, and that's okay. And as you melt down into your seat, you may be aware of certain sensations like vibrations, twitches, tingles in your body. And if those are happening, that's fine. That's just energy already beginning to shift and move in the direction of what we're intending with green. And then just as quickly as you went down, just let yourself come back up and open your eyes. Perfect. Just in that little brief period of time, what did you notice within yourself?
Well, I was just thinking about my body and sensation. Like,
Uh-huh.
that's all I was like.
Good, 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 good. Notice things are a little quieter, just a little, maybe just not so noisy inside. That's your natural state of mind. And so it's sort of like that's kind of rebooting your mind. We're going to do some stuff now that's going to deepen and further that response. Then simultaneously we can scan to clear up any of these impressions and distortions, things that might have happened that we need to get cleared up, okay? I'm going to move in a little closer to you. Put your hand out in front of you like so. We'll go with, yeah, this one is better, yeah. Focus right there on that spot on the back of your hand, and I'm going to take my hand and put it over here. If you think of an energy field between my hand and yours, as I begin to compress that energy, you become aware of that energy, and you start to feel the energy in the presence of my hand. You can feel that, right? You can kind of feel like my hand, you feel it closer here, not so much over there, right? As I begin to play with that energy, and as your mind becomes, inner mind becomes more responsive to that energy, you just kind of separate your fingers just slightly, there you go. And then watch what begins happening with your hand as on its own your hand will start doing things that you're not intentionally or consciously causing it, there it goes, causing it to do. You may notice there it goes, little vibrations, movements, twitches, is as if your hand is a mind of its own and is doing things that you know you're not, that's right, not causing it to do, but as inner mind becomes more and more responsive, there it goes, to that energy, things start happening with your hand that are actually things that we can appreciate and notice, because as inner mind becomes more responsive, there it goes, that's right, as it becomes more responsive, we know things are starting to shift and move in the direction of what we're intending, that's right. And as my hand gets closer, notice that as those movements continue, eyes blink, and as eyes blink, eyes rest, and you can just let your eyes close, and notice with eyes closed that those sensations and those movements continue. They might even increase a bit, and you'll feel me take your hand and rest it on mine, and as I do so, you'll just let the weight of your arm rest there on mine, that's right. And as I just tap on your arm slightly, just let all the tension out of your arm as your arm gets real loose and limp and heavy, that's right. And as your arm gets real loose and limp and heavy and the tension leaves your arm, it's as if your arm is melting like liquid, and as your arm melts, the tension leaves your body. And as the tension leaves your body, you find yourself just beginning to drop down and down and down, that's right. And the deeper you go, the better you feel, and the better you feel, the deeper you go, and you just drop down and down, and we think of a long flight of stairs, and with each step down, you go a little deeper, another step down, deeper still, and with each breath in, and with each breath out, you take another step down, and down, and with each breath out, you just think the word release. Release, that's right. As you release things that are no longer useful, no longer necessary, no longer desired, that's right. And as you go even deeper, your awareness is drawn into your center, where at your center there's peace, strength, confidence, on track. And as you go even deeper into your center, there's clarity, there's wisdom. Everything that you ever needed is already there. Everything that you ever needed has always been there. And as each cell, each muscle, each nerve, each fiber of your body gets the good news about green, energy is freed, energy is surging through your body, and at your center there's calm. That's right. And then we'll just slowly start coming back up, lighter, easier, clearer, and up even lighter still, so light you could just float away as things just feel easier, clearer, and better. And just take your time and make your way back up to the top, and when you're ready, just push your eyes open. There you go. That was kind of different, huh? You can put your arm down now. What did you notice within yourself during that?
Oh, I don't know. I was just thinking about, I was trying to concentrate on what you were saying.
Good.
But then,
You did perfect. There is no pass or fail on this, by the way, okay? Everybody's experience is a little different. Everybody is responsive in their own way. The part of your mind that we're working the most with, the rabbit part of your mind, it's getting everything that it needs, so you're doing just fine. So while mind continues to update and move and restructure itself towards what we're intending, it can scan back through your experiences. You mentioned one that might have been the one that's affecting you, but maybe something else will come up that you didn't even think of. As your mind sorts through all of the data, what's the first thing that kind of pops into your mind that would be useful for us to get cleared up?
meaning, like,
Events or experiences,
Well-
things that just, whatever pops right up, your mind sorts through it. It might be the thing you told me about, it might be something else.
actually, this other guy, he was a bit of a jerk.
Okay.
Like, I think, I don't know, he just, like, didn't take the hint. Like, nothing really bad happened, but just he was very pushy and kept on calling me kind of like almost stalkery, I guess. I guess
Okay.
that popped to mind.
Okay, because your idea is that you wouldn't conceive of being able to do that to somebody, and your expectation is somebody should think, do, and act the way you would like them to think, do, and act,
Yes.
right? And okay, good. This is going to seem kind of silly,
Okay.
okay? But you'll get it. It'll explain itself in just a moment, okay? You remember putting on your top this morning, right? So I'm going to tell you, right now, go home and put on a green top this morning. Hurry up, do it right now. And of course, that doesn't sound very logical, does it? What's the problem with what I'm asking you?
I can't travel in time.
That's right. So there was a time this morning when you put on your top, but there's no way to go back and do it differently now, right? Okay. So what I want you to say is, to my response is, I can't. And I'm going to say, why? And you're going to say, because I can't go back in time. Okay. Right now, go put on a green top this morning. Hurry up and do it now.
I can't.
Why?
I can't go back in time.
Okay. All right. Let's try it again. Right now, go back in time and put on a green top. Do it right now.
I can't.
I can't. Okay. Right now, get that guy to stop stalking you. Do it right now. Where's that happening?
I can't.
Why? Where's that happening?
Can't go back in time.
Right. So, and then say, well, it's not happening anywhere. Where's that happening now? It's not happening
Nowhere.
anywhere. Okay. There's nowhere now where that's happening, right? Let's do it one more time. Get that guy to stop stalking you. Hurry up. Do it right now.
I can't.
Where's that happening?
Nowhere.
Oh, get that guy to stop raping you. Hurry up. Where is he raping you?
In the past. I can't.
It's not. He's raping you in the past, or we might say there's no place where he's raping me. There's no place now where he's raping me.
There's
Say
no
that.
place now.
Say that. There's no place now where he's raping me.
There's no place now where he's raping me.
Yeah. Make him stop.
I can't. It's not happening.
That's not right that he's that way. He should be the other way. He should treat you with respect. Make him treat you with respect.
I can't.
Where's that happening?
It's not happening.
Yeah. Now here's the weirdest thing. The weirdest thing. I want you to think about that guy stalking you and about the guy raping you. And notice that as you think about it, something will have changed. What do you notice is different about it?
I guess my body feels. I mean, I think
Yeah.
I can't say the word, but just thinking about the action.
Well, what do you notice has changed in the way you react and respond to it? You said, I notice my body is acting differently because my body was doing one thing when I thought about it before. Now I might think about it and notice that something has changed. What's different about it?
I feel like it was like a tightening in my chest before, and my chest isn't tight.
Isn't that interesting? Now, think about it really hard and see if you can make your chest feel tight.
Well,
Notice that that's not happening now.
But still, the R word is still, I don't like, that makes me uncomfortable even saying it.
Saying rape?
Myself. Like, for versus to myself, like it, about someone else.
Help me understand that one.
Like saying, I have been, or him
Right.
to me.
Well, okay, so let me give you a way of thinking of things that might be useful to kind of try it on this way. Okay. Let's think that who you are, your essence, if you will, is this sense of light, this peace, this excitement. Remember when I had you kind of check into your center, that who you are is that center. That's who you are. And there's times when you've been very aware of that place, and there's other times that you've been very far away from that, right? But that's your essence, okay? You reside in your body, but the body that you reside in today isn't the same body that you resided in when you were 5 weeks old, right? That body doesn't exist anymore. It's changed and transformed, thousands of times since then, okay? So, for example, if, I notice that your foot's injured, but if you didn't have a foot, I might look at you and say, oh my God, it's nice to meet you. Well, most of you, okay? But you'd still be you no matter what. Your foot's injured, but you're still you, right? So this is going to again sound kind of silly, but I'm going to say this. Say it after me. I have a foot.
I have a foot.
But I'm not a foot.
But I'm not a foot.
And I don't introduce myself as a foot.
I don't introduce myself as a foot.
I have a knee.
I have a knee.
But my knee's not me.
But my knee's not me.
I have a butt.
I have a butt.
But I hate it when people call me a butt.
But I hate it when people call me a butt.
I have thoughts.
I have thoughts.
But I'm not my thoughts.
But I'm not my thoughts.
I have feelings.
I have feelings.
But I'm not my feelings.
But I'm not my feelings.
Okay, so he messed with my thoughts.
He messed with my thoughts.
He hurt my feelings.
He hurt my feelings.
He hurt my body.
He hurt my body.
He touched my body.
He touched my body.
But he never touched me.
But he never touched me.
He never touched me.
He never touched
He
me.
never touched my essence. He never touched who I
He
am.
never touched my essence. He never touched who I am.
Because I'm closer right now to touching who you really are than he ever was. Because that requires consent and it requires respect, and neither of those conditions existed. So he never touched me. Now, think of that word again and think of that experience and notice if anything has changed about it.
It's a little less scary.
Isn't it? Yeah. What, if anything, is still, if there's any like juice on that as you think about it, any kind of reaction, tell me what you're thinking about that's causing that reaction. What are you telling yourself?
I don't know. It still feels weird saying it out loud.
Which part?
Just still, I don't know. I think I've gotten to the point where, like, if someone says, "Oh, the word rape" in front of me, I'm fine. Like, I think initially I wasn't fine. It always like made me cringe.
Okay.
But I just think, so in abstract, I think.
Yeah. Well, rape has a lot of meaning attached to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Rape means a lot of things, right? One of the things that it means is that somebody did something to me, usually of a sexual nature, and I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't stop it. Okay. There's lots of bad things that happen when there's a rape. One is somebody's doing something that you're not consenting to. Your body is being hurt or being invaded and harmed in some way, touched in some way that you didn't want. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then there's a sense that there's no control over the situation. Okay, so all of those things are components of what we call rape. As you think about those components, which of those components troubles you the most?
I guess, yeah, there's no control.
Yeah. Well, the good news is you survived. You made it. You're here. When the person or when an animal, doesn't really matter, experiences a threat, okay, when there's a threat, there's three responses that Mother Nature has programmed into us: fight, flight, or freeze. Now, we don't determine, unless we've had many, many years of training. For example, a soldier trained in combat is trained to override their normal fear reaction, which is to get the hell away and run. Somebody's shooting at you. They're trained to override that and move forward. And sometimes even then, with the best of training, when the action hits, they still instinctively run.
Right.
Okay. So without that training, we just tend to respond, and nature selects the one that gives us the biggest chance of survival. Okay. Sometimes people will fight. Sometimes they'll try to run or they'll flee, and sometimes they'll freeze. Which response they use is not something that's voluntary. It's something that's automatic, that's part of their survival mind. Okay. So sometimes when somebody has something like what you experienced happen to them, they will react in one of those three ways. And then later, after they have survived and they move on, they start thinking about it and they go, I should have done this, or I wish I could have done that, So basically they're trying to change the conditions that existed in that very moment, thinking that if there were different conditions or different responses to those conditions, there would have been a different outcome. You with me? Yeah. Okay. So as you think about the thing that happened to you, you're thinking about how I couldn't control the conditions.
Well, I mean, I was passed out, so I really couldn't control anything.
Well, right. And then you're thinking, what about having been passed out? What does it mean that you were passed out?
I mean, I couldn't even do one of the three because I was.
That's right.
Passed out.
That's right. So I was passed out. It happened without me even being there to defend myself. Okay. And what were you? Just so I understand, were you drugged?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I know I drank a bit, and so it was either I passed out from being drunk or something you put in the drink. But I just know that it was frustrating for me because I'm a martial artist. He was a martial artist. I should be able to defend myself.
Well, right. That's great to defend yourself when you're able to defend yourself and you're conscious, right? Things might have happened very differently. Yeah. What do you think about you for having been unconscious and helpless?
Well, I don't know. I mean, part of me is like, I shouldn't have been drinking.
Right. The idea is if I hadn't have been drinking, I wouldn't have passed out, and then I wouldn't have been taken advantage of, right? So again, your mind thinking backwards, going, well, if I hadn't have done this, then this wouldn't have happened, and if this wouldn't have happened, or this would have happened differently, then there would be a whole different outcome, right? So why did the tornado hit the trailer park?
Happened to be there.
Well, that's right. We know that something caused the tornado to happen, right? And we know that something caused it because it happened, right? Okay. We know there were certain atmospheric conditions that existed that exact moment that caused the tornado to form exactly where it did and caused it to land exactly where it landed and hit the trailer park. Did the people in the trailer park deserve to have that tornado? No. Well, I don't know if they did or they didn't, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Okay. Were the people in the trailer park bad and they were being punished because the tornado hit them for being bad? Not that we know of, right? Had nothing. In essence, what we're saying is it had nothing to do with them.
Right.
Right. If the people in the trailer park had, could they make the tornado not happen?
No.
No, because why?
They can't control nature.
Well, of course, they couldn't control the exact conditions. I mean, if they could have done something to change the conditions, then the tornado might not have happened. Could the tornado have not happened?
Possible.
That's what a lot of us would think, right? The answer is no, because because why? It happened.
Oh, right. Yes.
It happened, therefore it could have not happened.
Right.
Okay. The only way, but see, our mind is capable of going, well, it could have. But see, what we're doing is we're trying to change the exact conditions that caused the tornado to form exactly where it did. In fact, the tornado not only could have not happened, but it couldn't have hit over here and it couldn't have hit over there. It hit exactly where it did because the conditions that caused it were exactly the way they were and caused it to happen exactly the way that it did. So we can't go back and change the conditions. But see, our human mind is capable of going back and playing with the variables and going, well, this would have not happened and this would have happened differently, then this wouldn't have happened over here. Okay, so if I change the conditions, I change the results. But the conditions that existed at the time that this happened were the exact conditions and they couldn't have happened any other way.
Right.
Okay, so go change the conditions that existed then. I can't, right? What did you deserve to be raped?
No.
Okay. Are you a bad person? Did you cause this person? Did you cause them to rape you?
I didn't.
Of course not. What did it mean that you passed out and this guy took advantage of you? What did it mean about you?
Nothing. I mean, just.
Right. Say that again. You said it with a question mark. What did it mean about you that this guy decided that, hey, it's a good idea to take advantage of this girl and rape her while she's passed out and unconscious and unable to defend herself? That seems like a really fun thing to do.
Nothing to do with me.
That had nothing to do with you. Say that.
It had nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Now it says a lot about him. You know, and you and I sitting here, we wouldn't go, hey, you know, that girl that's passed out in the other room, let's not rape her today, okay? You know, let's just not do it. It wouldn't occur to you and I to not do it, let alone do it. It just wouldn't cross my mind. But then with him, that was the first thing on his mind. I think I'll rape her. She can't fight back. This'll be a fun thing to do. It says a lot about him, but it doesn't say anything about you. Now think about that and tell me whether that changes. It doesn't make it okay that it happened. It just means, now, when you think about it, what are you still, what's still, because we're getting there, but I still sense that there's a little something that's going on. When you think about it, what's still?
I mean, the not knowing, because I was blacked out. I have no idea. I have no idea at all, like.
Exactly what happened.
I mean, I really don't. There's one thing I don't know for sure.
Do you own any electronic devices like computers, televisions? Really? Okay, good. If you're doing it correctly, they advise you that when you plug those pieces of electronic devices in, that you should plug them into this device, that if there's a power surge, it shorts the circuit so it protects your devices from damage. Right? It's called a surge protector. Familiar with? Okay. So our brain comes equipped with one of those as well. Okay. And so when there are things that are troubling or disturbing or traumatic that happen, and we know that we're not going to die, but in order to protect us from the emotional surge or the power surge of that experience, it goes. And so very often then there's no importance to the information, and that we're being protected so that we don't have all of this data and information. So it sounds like that not only were you affected by, it sounds like somebody put something in your drink, because that kind of response is not the typical response to a drink or even a few drinks. So somebody drugged you, so you weren't even there in that way, but then any remnant of memory was kind of wiped out because the surge protector tripped. The question I would have is it important to remember?
I mean, I did try, because this happened in a different country actually, and I tried, hiding a tape recorder and going to talk to him to get him to admit something, and he was like, "Oh, you don't remember? You kissed me first." And I was like, what? It's
Yeah.
so. I think,
Well, but you would expect the creep that thought it was a good idea to do this in the first place to tell you that, oh, yes,
yeah.
I did that and I'm really sorry.
I don't know. I was hoping. I don't know what I was hoping, but
Well, yeah, I'm sure that
yeah.
you were hoping that he would admit to it so you could either validate your experience or you could do something legally against him because he admits he committed a crime.
Yeah.
Okay. But you had that idea in mind when you did that, right? And the fact that he didn't admit it meant what about you?
Nothing.
Yeah. What if he did admit it? What would have been different?
About me, nothing.
Right. What would have been different about the experience?
The same.
It would have come out the same way, right? Did you need him to tell you that he did it for you to know that he did it?
No.
Because you already knew that he did it.
Yeah, I just wanted something for the police.
Yeah. So again, but you had your wits about you then, right? So you intentionally set it up so that that would happen, hoping that maybe you could trap him and get him to admit the crime that he committed that you weren't able to stop because you were unconscious. Yeah.
Correct.
So you did, see, with your wits about you, you do things very differently than
Right.
when you have no control over your body, let alone can be decisive and strategic.
Right.
You know, you tell me, that you hurt your foot practicing martial arts,
Yes.
right? Okay, and you said that that you're pretty skillful in the martial arts, right? How angry do you want to be? Being a martial arts person, you could probably know this better than I. When you're fighting your opponent, is it useful to be really angry, or is it actually harmful to be too angry when you're fighting an opponent?
It's harmful. You get sloppy when you're angry.
Exactly. You get sloppy when you're angry. Exactly. So when you're fighting your opponent, even though it looks violent, you actually want to be as calm as you possibly can, focused and strategic.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be thinking, okay, he's doing this, I got to do this to counter that, and this is all happening, faster than we can even think about it, but we're actually responding and reacting. The training gives us better movements, quicker reflexes, but we're still thinking strategically as we're doing this, right? Okay. Could you think strategically when you were unconscious?
No.
Okay. When you decided to go with the tape recorder, were you being strategic?
Yes, I was.
Yes, you were. And were you angry at him when you went to do this?
Yes.
You were, of course. But what did you do with the anger?
Well, I controlled it.
Exactly. So you realized that I can't go in there yelling and screaming at him because I need to keep my wits about me and be strategic and be focused, just like I do in martial arts.
Right.
And while I was angry, so does it matter whether you're angry at him or not? Whether you still doesn't, does it? Okay. So now check it.
I feel better about it.
Good. My pleasure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. A little different than what you thought. Huh?
Yeah.